Why does the world seem to be moving into catastrophe? Things are bubbling up everywhere. Well, the answer lies deep. We need to go into many different topics today, even into Atlantis and Lemuria. We're going into many different things today on Earth 1111. Hi, it's Roxanne. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell and share the video, please, on all of your social media platforms. It really helps my videos get seen to more people. And right now we need more people understanding what's going on out there. And don't forget to sign up for free on our social media platform. Meet hundreds of people from all over the world, just like you, on EARTH1111.com. So what's going on right now? There sure seems to be just things boiling up to the surface everywhere right now. Remember, we are in the 2222 portal still to the end of the month. And I mentioned that we're going to be going through massive changes. All the artificial timelines are being dissolved rapidly right now. So what this means is we have, so of course, all of you that are watching this video are all moving into ascension timelines, which is moving into the core. Now, as you move into the core, you move closer and closer to source, creator, light, love. And everything that is in separation is further out that starts unwinding. Now, this is going to be things in your life unwinding. It could be, like I said, relationships, different routines, different lifestyles that you've been living for many years. And then on a macrocosmic scale, because of course ascension isn't just happening to us individually, it's happening to the entire planet and our entire solar system and really our area of the galaxy, because we are moving into that photon belt, which is massive amounts of photonic light bringing this ascension underway. So what happens is we also have many people on Earth that are, of course, moving into descension timelines. And then we have, of course, you know, a small group that are orchestrating these, you know, lower timelines. I'll get into more of that later in the video. And also in a part 2 of this video, it'll be on later this week. So we'll have diagrams and things for you guys. But know that there is, of course, a whole middle ground of people that are kind of unsure, right? That just woke up, that don't have a clue. And it could be a lot of you as well. So I'll give you some understanding about why everything just seems to be blowing up right now in the world. And that's because as we ascend, everything of separation, all the lower timelines, everything that's ever happened in the history of this planet, every civilization, every disaster, every battle, every catastrophe, all of those grids bubble up to the surface. And what's happening is they are being unwound as we move into core love frequencies. Everything that isn't that core frequency, those timelines come up because their contents of that grid holding those civilizations in place from the past is being unwound. So the contents of that grid comes to the surface as it's being cleared. So we are having, so literally what ascension is we are dissolving every single past and present timeline, everything that's ever happened in the history of this planet, in the history of your soul, in the history of the oversoul, right, of many souls. Really, we are doing it all, we are clearing it all in this lifetime. So essentially, we right now have lived in a blended reality. So we actually exist in multiple timelines, which is why things have always been wonky. Like, there's always been this underlying unhappiness you might be have felt all your life, or certain traumas from past lives, or anything, right? So you might be very sensitive to all the different things playing out. Now, these could be playing out not just in this current now moment, but every single past timeline of the Earth, for example, you could be feeling. And like I said, as we ascend individually and as a planet, all the contents of the past gets unwound and gets unpacked and comes to the surface for us to experience so we can heal those tragedies. So think about everything that's ever happened on the history of this planet. There's been eons of stuff, not just in the past 100 years, right? You know, we can think about the past 100 years has been horrible, right? Many tragedies, many different things orchestrated where, you know, people are suffering, massive amounts of people or full countries are just destroyed. There's been many tragedies in the history of this planet, even in the past 100 years that we can think of, right? Where we have full generations of people that lived through this still ongoing on the planet. And even if you didn't experience that, then definitely your ancestors did. So that is living through us, through our DNA. Remember, we are that flow of consciousness that moves from our ancestors through us. So everything that's ever happened in the history of your family lineage, you get to experience and you get to heal in this lifetime. And of course, a lot of us have been through infinite lifetimes on this earth or on other planets, and all of those are also being systematically cleared away. Well, first of all, come to the surface to be integrated with, because all of our consciousness parts, right, our soul parts that are still playing out karmas or still playing out, you know, different lifetimes. Remember, there is no past, there is no future, there is actually no time. We just experience as a spiral, as a loop where we experience time, but there really isn't time. So any past life that you've ever experienced, there's actually a part of you that's playing out that life right now in this now moment, because there is no past. So you are experiencing and living out a life on many different planets, many different star systems, as planets, as stars, as full out universes, as angels, as animals or trees, and of course many different other things, right? So we are literally living all these simultaneously right now. This is why things are so complicated on this planet, because we have a blended reality. Now what's happening with Ascension is we are clearing away all of those other timelines that are really affecting this timeline, right? Because we're healing all of these traumas of these timelines. So it's not just us personally as souls that have lived through these tragedies. The earth, our macrocosm actually has multiple grids that were the civilizations of many past civilizations. So these grids, because they're being collapsed, right? Because as we ascend, we collapse all of this old architecture. All the past of this earth comes up as it's being dissolved, right? Because we are also the conduits of the light. So a lot of you are the transmuters of a lot of this darkness, we can say, or a lot of this trauma. So a lot of us are grid workers, and some of us are even gatekeepers. So we clear for the collective, we clear for the earth through our physical bodies. So you could be, of course, also feeling this if you're sensitive. You could be feeling just that pain or that sadness or the anger or the fear. So for me on Thursday, I guess that was the day that things really started boiling over. Just a real sadness coming through, like, you know, lots of tears that day. So again, if you are feeling emotion, let it out, because you are clearing these grids for the whole entire collective. You are clearing from these grids that are coming up and unpacking. So think about all the tragedies that Earth has had and all the civilizations, everything that's ever happened in the history of this planet is getting unpacked because we are vibrating faster, right? Our frequency is going up, which really means we are spinning faster. So when you spin faster, you move into the core of yourself. And so also the planet is moving into the core, and these old consciousnesses and all the trapped souls and trapped soul parts that have been trapped in these old consciousnesses, right? These old timelines for eons, and it could even be a lot of, like I said, your own personal stuff. So you have a lot of parts of you that have been trapped, replaying out these traumas from 80 to 100 years ago, from all those, horrible things that went on there. Or You can say the witch burning days. A lot of us, right, that have come to this planet and had that connection with the earth, right, have been prosecuted and, right, went through many different traumas. And even if you, like I said, you as a soul personally didn't go through those, it's in your ancestry, right? It's held in the earth. Well, we are of the earth, right? We are connected to the earth. That is our field, one of our, dimensional fields. So we get to feel everything. So what's happening right now is we have so many different past civilizations that are even linked to things like Atlantis and Lemuria, right? So it doesn't even have to be recent history. We are having every single civilization that ever existed, whether a darkness or whether a golden era on the planet, we are healing and clearing from the earth. Lots going on. So that's why there's just non-stop drama going on out there. Because, okay, so as things clear, right, we have history repeating itself out there. And that's because we have the negative controllers, really just those that are acting completely in their ego. When you act in your ego, you're separate from everyone. You act with that, really that lowest part of you, that predator mind, right? So we have, of course, groups of people on the planet that are operating from the lowest consciousness level of, greed, control, corruption, right? There's no common sense with these people, right? And again, it goes even deeper than that. They are, portals of darkness even. And again, you know what? I'll get into all that in the next video, because I'll be explaining with diagrams about, what is evil, because really it's not what you think. But let's get back to now. So we have history repeating itself. So we have these few people, right? The few people that, like to control others, that are now orchestrating different timelines out there to trap people's consciousness. So as things are playing out, right, these are being cleared from the collective. But typically what happens is they have to come up to be seen, to be felt, right? To be like, no, we're not replaying that karma again. We're not getting trapped into that again, right? It's kind of like things from 80 to 100 years ago, right? Coming up. No, we're not gonna, as a people, we're not gonna allow that to go on again. Sorry, right? So it really is about, as the content of those grids come up and the information comes up, then as individuals, we choose, no, we're not being trapped into that loop again. We're not going to allow that to happen on this planet again. So a lot of us will have certain pulls towards certain things, or, we will have certain karma that we are playing out from these past tragedies. So say, for example, you were a witch, and you were burned or, hung or whatever. There's just so much, devastation, horrible things that happen on this planet. So you were going to have one of those traumas. And so you might come up and feel, that you have a lot of power to share with the world, but you're scared to be seen, right? So we have this happen, of course, with a lot of lightworkers and starseeds that are scared to be seen, scared to show their gift to the world, scared to show their true self. And that's because we've had to hide and kind of hide in the shadows for many lifetimes because it wasn't safe. But no, it is safe in this lifetime. You are protected. All this stuff is coming up because it's being cleared, right? So when they have a lot of things come up, for example, trying to segregate certain people, then a lot of us are like, we're not doing that again. Sorry. Not gonna happen. And then of course, the ones existing, from their egos at the top. Okay, I won't even say the top because they're not at the top. They want to be at the top, right? In the old system of control, they kind of, got themselves to the top, so they have the most resource and things like that. But they're nothing, okay? These are parasites. You don't have to worry about them. just know that they are trying to orchestrate different scenarios in the world to trap people into these old timelines that are being cleared. So these are being cleared, but what happens is a lot of people kind of get sucked into that mentality, into the fear about certain things, because they're holding that trauma from that lifetime, for example, where a similar scenario played out, and they're not clearing that trauma, so they're being sucked into that. And again, I'll go into that more in a later video this week, because I want to have diagrams and show you guys and see how, because you have to understand that there is only one main timeline on this earth, and that is ascension. So whenever they're trying to create artificial timelines to feed and loop back into these old timelines, right, to feed these grids that are dissolving, so once they pump energy in, from people through their fear into these old grids, they can keep them going for a certain time, not for very long. But that's why they need massive amounts of people. This is why it's just one tragedy after the next, right? It's constantly just trying to feed these artificial grids that are dissolving, and they need your light. They need to trap your consciousness in these old artificial grids to keep them sustained. So know that. It's all about you being the master, knowing that they're coming up to be dissolved, and you need to allow them to be dissolved. So a lot of us are doing, of course, massive grid work. And you probably are also in your sleep. You're probably clearing so much. And I'll probably have a separate video about that, about grid work and gatekeeping. So even things like Atlantis, for example, that's one of these major timelines that we are clearing. Like, a lot of people think, oh my God, Atlantis is amazing. It was a civilization that got so out of balance, it fell. So a lot of people think it fell into the ocean. Well, it's by it falling, it's more that it fell in consciousness, because it got so out of alignment away from love and light and purity. And a lot of Atlantis was about AI and, DNA splicing and cloning and, all of these advanced technologies, and also the use of crystals. So crystal technologies, which are a good thing, but they used it, like I said, in a negative way. So we're seeing now remnants of those timelines playing out now. Think about what computers, smartphones, the internet, what are they all? They're all based on crystals. So you know what a microchip is? A microchip is a crystal. Literally, we have crystal technologies from the timelines of Atlantis playing out right now. Now, we do not want to follow through with these timelines, right? We need to get away from the AI agenda, because that is what's going to collapse consciousness back into another dark age, right? So they are force-feeding people constantly this, need to be all obsessed with technology and to, you don't need to be organic, you just need to be half robot. And, right, nanotech this, and just, it's all this stuff that is absolutely scary to ever be involved in. It is exactly a loop to trap people back into an old timeline that collapsed because it was not in balance. We do not need to be replaying that on Earth again, right? It was essentially Atlantis was a civilization that, that completely left the heart. There was no emotion. It was completely in the mind thinking, right? The masculine. Over-masculinated, constant thinking, constant mind and ego, and nothing else, right? What do we see going on out there? It's pretty easy to see the exact, right? That exact history also repeating itself. Again, we don't need to be trapped into those, metaverses. Now, there was also Lemuria and many other civilizations. So Lemuria was a more feminine, more of a balanced civilization, but still off balance because it was more feminine and really lacking in the masculine. So you really need balance. And so we have a lot of Lemurian energy coming through, which is that connection to nature coming through, right? This is really a higher vibrational past history, past civilization that was even before Atlantis. Now we have a lot of that feeding through, right? With our connection to the elements and the elemental kingdom and the animals and nature and Mother Earth, right? So that's bleeding through as well. So again, that's a great timeline to be more connected with. But we don't want to, you know, again, we need to realize that all these civilizations, we need to integrate them and clear them, right? Because of course, that civilization also fell. So we need to understand that there was also imbalances in those civilizations. So we don't need history repeating itself at all right now. We need to integrate that history. And this is why it's coming up, because things were never cleared, right? You know, the healing never really went on. Right? And of course, we have so many more tragedies, right? You know, with the slaughtering of the First Nations people for many centuries. You know, of course, things have been going on in the Middle East, or just, it's non-stop, right? There's been so much on this planet of destruction and death. So this is why all that's coming to the surface, which is, it's a good thing, it's being cleared. The key is we don't get ourselves trapped into those loops. So I'll talk about that more in the next video. And know that this whole process is also happening out there because it's happening internally. The internal creates the external, right? So the grids in ourself, our connection to these old timelines is clearing, which is why we're seeing it in the outside world. And know that that's the part of, right? That is the organic ascension process. So know that as these are coming up, it's not a bad thing. That's how we clear away massive amounts of shadow and trauma and darkness. Right? The further along your ascension path that you go, and the more that you embody, your field instantly clears trauma, clears shadow, right? There's no holding on to it. And if you try, right, because what you're doing is you're merging. So we live in a free will reality based on love. So anything not love, right? All these old timelines that are based on the opposite of love are artificial. They're held up artificially. Same as with us, right? Any trauma we have, any problem we have, any issue, it's because of a blockage or a trauma or, right, the negative ego. It's all these different parts that are blocking your perfection. So the further up through the ascension process we go, and embodying divine consciousness, right? Embodying these higher frequencies, our free will aligns with divine will. So your ego actually has to align with the collective of multiple dimensions, right? The collective of source. So you need to allow your ego to be in line. You know, we all still have free will, right? We can choose to, you know, not listen to our intuition. We can choose to go off the deep end. We can choose to go into fear, but then it just creates suffering. So know that in your own internal life, the process of ascension will push up to the surface everything not aligned, and that's just how the organic process goes, right? And so same thing on a macrocosmic scale. Everything in the planet that is not aligned to purity is being pushed up right now, big time. So again, I'll be going into a part 2 in this video. Make sure you guys subscribe. And if you're interested in learning more about civilizations such as Atlantis, Lemuria, the ascension process, I have a course, Stargate Ascension and Alchemy. And that process, or that course, I go into detail, step by step, into many different topics, hundreds of topics over about 60 or more videos. So it was supposed to be a 6-week course. It's now turned into an 8-week course. So you can sign up for that on my website, and also join our social media platform. Meet your soul family, hundreds of people from all over the world just like you. So that's on EARTH1111.com. Don't forget to share the video with everybody you know. Thank you so much. I really work hard on these videos. And subscribe, hit the notification bell. And again, I have the part 2 coming up later this week, so you're not going to want to miss out. And I also have another video coming up this week talking about how the different roles that starseeds and lightworkers play, because we are doing so much to help this planet. Thanks so much, you guys. I'm Roxanne. This has been EARTH1111. All right, bye.